𝗕𝗪 sets a new all-time high as it proceeds to its target of 33 cents. Welcome back to Cheeky Crypto, and today we are diving into the charts for 𝗕𝗪. We're going to be taking a look at the daily and the hourly charts to review exactly what has been going on most recently with the price action of the one coin. We'll also be getting into what we think is likely to happen next in the next sort of 24 to 48 hours. Guys, as we get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, hit that like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, why not go ahead and subscribe, tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With that said, done out of the way, let's dive down into this daily chart for 𝗕𝗪 and talk about everything that's been going on most recently. Right, guys, we're going to start things with this daily chart. We are paired up with USDT, and Binance is our data source. We are using TradingView, so you can replicate all of this using that platform. Right, so let's actually take a look at what's been going on. I think if you've been following our videos recently, and then you'll be fully aware of the cup and handle pattern. Okay, so we had the cup here, pulled down for the handle, and then we are targeting our 33 cent zone. This actually comes in at the 1.618 area of the Fibonacci retracement tools and that extension level of 1.618, 33.3 cent. Now, in theory, the cup and handle actually goes to 34 cent, but I think this psychological barrier of 33.3, based on the Fibonacci extension levels, is most likely going to be a good trading point for many day traders in the space. So if we actually take the top of our handle just up here, and we go ahead and put a fib down to the bottom of our cup, just at this level approximately here. As you can see, it comes out to 34.5 cent, just above our 1.618 area of 33.3 cent. Okay, so we know that this is kind of the area that we're aiming for. We're working away quite nicely now towards it. If we actually go ahead and grab our price range from the current position as of today, at the point of recording this video, up to our 33 cent area, we are looking for an additional 33.6%, and then we are there. So some pretty interesting stuff on the horizon here for 𝗕𝗪, definitely gearing up nicely. We can see that the stochastic is now in the overbought area, just edging into here. And again, this is an area that we can be up for quite some time. And specifically when we talk about what was going on over this side of the chart, right, as we were going into August, we started to see a nice amount of traction to the upside overall. And here we were actually up in the overbought area for quite some time. Okay, so again, this is an area that we can be in for a little bit while longer, and before we actually start to see any kind of major pullbacks or another correction that is needed, or sideways trading, etc. Right? This is something that we saw over here. We saw this momentum get lost from our stochastic with a very small correction in the candles just here, okay, before we continued that growth to the upside before September. Okay, so overall, everything's looking pretty good for 𝗕𝗪 right now. Just going up and setting a new all-time high and looking at that traction and looking for that 33.3 cent area to come in. So I'm going to quickly remove that so we obviously know where we are aiming, right? We're aiming for that 1.618, 33.3 cent. And again, we have that ability to just to wick up into that 34.5 cent area, which would be the full cup and handle. Now, the cup and handle pattern itself, taking this cup here, for example, and our handle, and then pushing up towards our target, is about 60 to 70% accurate. To be more accurate on that, I think it actually ranges, I think, between 65 and 68%, something like that, right? From I guess a currency pair kind of trading platform perspective. Now, the cup and handle in itself is actually playing out really nicely for 𝗕𝗪 here. So it does look like we're going to get that extra 33% pushed on, and before we start to see any kind of sideways trade or pullback from the 618 area, our 1.618 area, and before maybe going up to our 2.618. Okay, talking about 51 cent for 𝗕𝗪 at that point. Now, overall, we are still talking about a 79.9 cent 4.236 extension for 𝗕𝗪 1, and again, this is based on the performance, right? The current performance of wave 3 and wave 4, so the high that we had back here in March, okay, 29th of March, and down to the low that we had way down here in the 22nd of June, right? So that downward trend performance has indicated a 79.7 cent 4.236 extension. Okay, so that's where we're kind of aiming. Now, it is, of course, a little bit from there going up to that dollar level. So we can, of course, wick above that 4.236. But again, I think we won't be really pushing past $1 unless something fundamentally changes or something absolutely massive happens to the Harmony protocol that sees a new level of adoption. Of course, there's lots of things that are being spoken about, and I'm not going to go into in a lot of detail just yet. But if they do actually start to come out and announce a few things, then that does change things, and that could see us spike up significantly higher than what the current data here is suggesting. Okay, so right now we have what I believe to be a nice, comfortable 79.7 zone for Harmony 1. And again, we could go much higher than that if we actually start to see some of these big bullish things actually happen in the space in a pretty timely way as well. So I think there's going to be lots of FOMO, lots of speculation, lots of things going on as the year kind of proceeds. And specifically, as we kind of go towards the end of the bull run, things will get a little bit crazy. So Harmony has some pretty good potential to spike up quite nicely towards the end as well. So overall, we're about 200 and I think it's like 18%. Let me just get rid of that for a second. 218% from our current price up to that 79.7 zone. Okay, so overall, everything on this daily chart's looking pretty good. We're heading up towards our 33.3 cent area, and everything's looking pretty good from that perspective. Cup and handle is definitely going according to plan, and it is targeting that 1.618 area of the chart. So everything's looking pretty good there. So it's at this point we're going to jump over to the 𝗲.io dashboard and talk about that artificial intelligence and machine learning and what it's trying to communicate over to us, right? For those who are unfamiliar, 𝗲.io uses artificial intelligence and machine learning to help us understand the underlying value of cryptocurrencies. There's a link in the description down below. It's completely free. Sign up and you'll be able to get access to all of this wonderful data for your cryptocurrencies. Okay, so you'll be able to understand exactly what's going on in a little bit more detail. And what we're going to do is we're going to jump into the Harmony 1 and we're going to take a look and see what's going on here today. Now, it does update every 24 hours. So in the next 4 or so hours, this will update again. And again, it will give us a more accurate understanding of what's going on within the last 24 hours for Harmony and what you might start to expect to happen next, right? So we have an A3 cryptocurrency rating overall for Harmony 1. That's very, very good. That's pretty bullish and is basically in the top tier, right? Top 3 tier for the Harmony 1, right? So a good 𝗲 rating there. Now, as we come down, we go into a little bit more detail. We have an 𝗲 ratio and A2, so the second best rating overall for liquidity. So there's no problems with liquidity for Harmony 1. Now, that doesn't sound like anything big or big news or anything like that, but it has actually got some pretty big implications because we are of course talking about many of these other altcoins in the space actually having some pretty interesting liquidity based problems, but Harmony 1 isn't having that same problem, right? And we can see this with Cardano has liquidity problems, VeChain has liquidity problems, Bitcoin liquidity problems, but Harmony 1 here hasn't got these issues right now. So actually that's why you're starting to see this thing actually move quite nicely to the upside, whereas you start to see things like Bitcoin, VeChain and Cardano trading sideways because it's actually slightly difficult right now to buy and sell those particular cryptocurrencies. So it's always good to understand here that we got an 𝗲 ratio that's actually pretty good and isn't creating any potential barriers to price discovery. And again, we come across to the right-hand side, we actually have a fear and greed index. The fear and greed index is actually specific to Harmony and not just that general one that you see, which relates to Bitcoin. In this particular case, we actually have got a reasonable amount of fear for Harmony 1 right now, which is actually unfounded. And specifically, as we go ahead and set a new all-time high today, it'd be really interesting to see if this sentiment changes in the next few days. So we're always keeping an eye on this. We are slowly rising. As you can see here, the green line did rise up a little bit and has pulled back in the last 24 hours before, of course, going up and setting a new all-time high today. My anticipation will be that it would enter more of a neutral zone in the next probably 24 to 48 hours with that fear and greed index and that generalized sentiment in the space. But right now, people or some people might actually be willing to sell their Harmony at a discounted rate ahead of where we're going, and that's the kind of thing that we want to be paying attention to. As we come down a little bit lower, we get a bit of a contrast to that generalized, fear and greed index, that sentiment that's quite fearful for Harmony. We actually have a Sharpe ratio. The Sharpe ratio is an A2 rating. For those who are familiar with 𝗲, the Sharpe ratio is your risk-reward ratio, and this being well above that 50-day average and an A2 rating, this is actually suggesting to you that you might want to have some exposure to Harmony 1. The rewards outweigh the risks, and as associated with that, we obviously have something that's in the polar opposite end of camp, when it comes to the fear and greed index. We have extreme fear, people wanted to sell their Harmony One at a discount, yet on the underlying data, we have the artificial intelligence and machine learning actually indicating to us that the risk-reward ratio is in your favor. There are more rewards than the risks might actually allow. So therefore, you might want to have some exposure to Harmony One. And that's really interesting to obviously have those two things side by side. Extreme fear, yet actually an A2 rating for your risk reward ratio. Other than that, we do have an ROI of an A1, the best it can be. We've had over 18,900% in gains in 1 year for Harmony. And to put that into context, Bitcoin only moved up 1,600%. So we know that Harmony One has been performing incredibly well. As we come on down a little bit lower, we've got moving averages. These are an A2 rating, so again, well off the chart, really good moving averages for Harmony One, with a peak end value demand up at B2, pretty neutral and looking pretty good as well. So overall, there's only one issue with all of this underlying data that's actually helping to kind of pull back the overall rating for Harmony One, and that's the unreasonable amount of fear in the space right now. And I think a lot of that comes down to what's going on with Bitcoin, China, and various other kind of FUD articles and things that are circulating out there. But ultimately, Harmony One has actually a lot of really good underlying data, and the sentiment isn't quite aligned to that just yet. This means that there's potential opportunities to buy up some fear when it is presented, and this is really interesting as we go down into the next levels of the chart. So I'm going to load up the hourly chart for Harmony One, guys, and I'm going to talk about what's been going on most recently, i.e. what's gone on today. As we last did a video, we were talking about moving on up and basically coming back down towards our 21-cent area. Now, for my original video, we were actually approaching this area here. I thought we were actually going to come down towards our 786 area before pushing up, back testing on that 21 cent and then pushing up to new all-time highs. In fact, what we saw was no kind of pullback actually coming down towards our 786. Instead, we saw the momentum completely wipe out of our stochastic without doing any damage to the price up here, pulling back down to our 21-cent zone and then launching back to the upside, setting a new all-time high. Okay, and right now we're looking at that momentum. We're wanting to see if we can pull that stochastic down whilst maintaining a good price at the top here, allowing us to continue that growth to the upside. So that cup and handle that's on our daily chart is looking absolutely on point right now for 33.3 cent, maybe even a push to that 34.5 cent area, right? So everything's looking pretty good from that perspective. But with that being said, we do need to start to see the price pull back a tiny little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw on here a bit of a rectangle as to where I think that's likely to be. I think there's an opportunity somewhere in this range just here. And I'm just going to draw this on briefly because there's a small kind of gap that's been left behind. It's about here. Okay, and I'm going to just pull this up and then make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see. Okay, so basically we have some wicks that were coming down to this area. And this area here is 24.4 cent, okay? Let me just grab my pencil and my brush 1 second. So we can see that we wick up to this area and it was an area of resistance, okay? And then we fell right the way back down, right from here. Okay, we fell down. And then basically when we pushed on through, we back tested and we turned it into a support. Resistance, support. So basically, if we're looking to pull the price of Harmony down, this is going to be a key support area for us. And if we were to wick into this area, then that's an opportunity to potentially be buying up a little bit of Harmony One, right? If you're into buying that fear, of course. Now, obviously, I'm not a financial advisor, and nor is Chris. It's important that you do your own research, come to your own conclusions. But understanding all that underlying data from 𝗖𝗢 and understanding the charts, this would be an interesting area for me personally if I was in the mood for buying up some Harmony One. That being said, you can also see that the bottom area here was previously resistance, and we can see that this would be a good area for a good bounce as well. So if we were looking for a deeper pullback, then we'd be looking to find support initially on 24.4 and with the potential of popping all the way down to 23.9. That being said, I think we'll more than likely actually find support on 24.4 and then take it to the north side from there, setting a new all-time high within the next 24 to 48 hours, as long as the rest of the market continues to do exactly as it is today. Overall, Harmony One has been performing incredibly well. 33.3 cent is the target and is what we are anticipating for the month of October. And if we do go a little bit higher above and beyond that to the 34.5 cent area, that would be the full cup and handle completed, where we can then start to see either a sideways trade or a significant pullback to allow us to dollar cost average a better position ahead of going into those higher levels, the 2.618, the 3.618, and the 4.236 extension coming in at 70, 9.7 cent. Okay, and again, some of those fantastic things that are being worked on in the background could change a lot of those targets as well. Guys, I'm going to leave the video there. Hopefully you have found it useful and informative. If you have, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe. Tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With this said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.